Today we're going to discuss a chapter from the book The Secret of the Ages by Robert Collier. The chapter is called Kingdom of Heaven. We're also going to relate this over to the idea of mood. It is stated, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Heaven is not some faraway state. Heaven is right here and now. When Christ said that heaven was within us, he meant just what he said, that the power for happiness, for good, for everything we need in life is within each one of us. And the power is there right now. And it is revealed via our mood. Our mood has the ability to alter our behaviors, our actions, what we decide to do automatically so. As we discussed in the last video, we were referring to this as the known factors for bringing forth a vision. Now, mood also has the ability to alter the behaviors and moods and actions in others. Notice this. When you're in a certain mood, let's say a mood that's one with your vision, where you feel confident, your self-esteem is at a peak, creativity, inspiration is at a high. Notice how conversations tend to flow in the direction of those moods. What the other person says and how we respond and how the continuous conversation seems to flow seems to be from the perspective of the mood within ourselves. Now, mood can be defined as a state of mind or a feeling. We can relate this over to what we discussed in the last video and our previous Neville Goddard discussion, the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Now, every mood that is one with your vision has its own corresponding known and unknown factors. And these known factors, we could say things changing in illogical ways or ways that we understand, and unknown factors. And some of the information that I've been gathering this idea from unknown factors is the work of William Walker Atkinson. As we discussed in the last video, I believe that it wouldn't be as accurate to assume that what we interpret via the five senses is all that exists. There has to be more beyond what we interpret via the five senses, certainly when we see results happen in ways what we call unexpected, or we didn't know, we call this some way, somehow. Notice how this ability, some way, somehow, and if you're a creative, an artist, musician, you seem to draw upon inspiration when you are in a certain mood. So that's why I suggest maintaining this certain mood. Now, this reflection came yesterday to me as I was listening to some music that I used to listen to when I was 17, 18 years old. Now, I was interested in pursuing a career in DJing, and I even had a number of gigs. But it wasn't something that was as inspiring for me than, let's say, entrepreneurship. But it did teach me a number of valuable lessons. During the times when I felt that the crowd was really tuned into the music that I was expressing, it was when I was in a certain mood that I would call one with the crowd or in the flow. If for whatever the reason may be, I wasn't in this mood during the same music that I was playing, I would notice that the crowd wouldn't respond in a way that would be one with the music, the environment, the experience, and so forth. As we alter our mood, and this is not something just understood by DJs, as mentioned, entrepreneurs, we experience this on the journey, in communication with others. We notice when we're in a peak, confident, flow-based mood, others seem to respond in that way. And we move towards the end result from a place of flow. So this mood or state of mind holds the key to what he discusses next, in which he says, to enjoy the heaven that is within us, to begin here and now to live the eternal life, or the life eternal, takes only a fuller understanding of the power that is within us. Even now, with the limited knowledge at our command, we can control circumstances to the point of making the world without an expression of our own world within, where the real thoughts, the real power resides. So this is related to what we were talking about on Sunday. Known factors and unknown factors, as he articulates here. Even now, with the limited knowledge at our command, we're still understanding this stuff more so every day. But as mentioned, we don't have to understand it. We can work with it by altering our mood. Now I'm going to talk about in this video 7 ways of how I bring myself into the mood. As I had listened to some of this music that I used to listen to back in the days, I noticed myself thinking certain thoughts, behaving certain ways, having certain ideas, inspiration, and so forth. Just listening to some music that brought me into a certain mood altered my perception of reality. Now, what was interesting was I started to notice the environment was changing around me. It seemed that people were behaving in a way that was related to the mood that I was in, which was more of a joyous, flow-based, connected, you could say high energy kind of vibe or mood. I started to notice more people that were expressing the same kind of mood in what they were saying, their body language, and so forth. Now, this holds an important realization. Again, reflected upon here, what he says, through this world within, you can find the solution of every problem, the cause for every effect, discover it, and all power, all possession is within your control. So what we want to do is we want to make a mood that is one with the vision, and vision or goal or ideal lifestyle, which we discussed to a certain degree, which I recommend watching that video. A few weeks ago, in relation to creating goals and vision, working with the Robert Dilts model, I'll put a link in the description to that if you haven't seen that. Once we have a goal, if we want to maintain a more flow-based, one with kind of experience so we don't feel disconnected with our experience or stressed out with the day-to-day, we want to tap into this mood that's one with the vision prior to doing the activities, engaging in the experiences and so forth, making this mood a priority because reality is rearranged and reflected from this mood on the journey to realizing that vision. This is also the gateway to the subconscious, as he refers to here. All during our waking hours, the conscious mind, through the 5 senses, acts as constant feeder to the subconscious. The senses are the temporal source of supply for the content of the soul mind. Therefore, it is important that we know and realize definitely and explicitly that every time we think a thought or feel an emotion, we are adding to the content of this powerful mind, good or bad, as the case may be. Life will be richer or poorer for the thoughts and deeds of today. So it's really about going to a higher level perspective. That's what we're talking about here. And we're going into a level of mood, which, as articulated earlier, is defined as state of mind or feeling. If a person operates from an ideal mood, what they will start to notice and continue to encourage, automatically so, expressively so, is the ideal thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that are one with the experience, a deep integration with the reality of the present. Now, this will be revealed in the creative expression, the entrepreneurial journey, the day-to-day activity, whatever it is that you're doing, even something that may seem as simple as going for a walk will reveal certain thought processes, insights, and hunches in your life that, when integrated, leads over to producing the success in your vision. Now, this is something that I've also experienced in my journey. As I found myself deeply engaged with certain things that I was doing, but not from an ideal mood, more of a stress-based mood. What I noticed was I was making the whole circumstance more complicated than it had to be. I was doing unnecessary things that seemed to create more stress and friction. It would seem that I was spinning my wheels. As a matter of fact, I had a reflection on this when I was looking back at my career in corporate IT. There were times where we would have technological issues, and we would spin our wheels for hours trying to resolve it. And then we would go for a walk, or we would go for lunch, and we'd take a break. And as we were relaxing, and our mood got into a certain kingdom of heaven within state, we came up with the solution right then. And we're thinking, why didn't we think of this earlier? So we go back to the office, and we solve the challenge. So it's interesting to see how we transcend time, space, and certain kinds of linear approaches to, let's say, solving challenges, if we make the mood, that's one with the vision, a priority and step into that first and observe it. If we are going into or identifying to different moods that are not ideal in the moment when we're doing whatever it is that we're doing, and just recognize that all we have to do is just step away from that. Just release from that identification with that mood. Step into another mood. Let's talk about things that I do, for example. I like to do the following 7 things. Now, these 7 things are things that work for me. It's important to take an inventory. Perhaps some of these will work for you. These are suggestions. Note these things that work for you so that if you ever find yourself in moods where you're excessively reactive or stressed, do not shame yourself, but recognize that you have perhaps gone into a different mood or state of mind. And you have the ability to switch back to the ideal mood. That's one with a vision. So for me, the following: meditation, listening to music, as I had suggested, certain kinds of music put me into different moods. It's important to recognize what music and what mood you want to be in. Information, such as books that I'm reading, such as audio programs, videos, and so forth. Focusing on the task at hand. This is a very important thing for me as well. If I find myself distracted or in states of mind that we would call reactive, I say to myself, my goal is to be very deeply present to this task at hand. Could be a set while working out at the gym. Could be being really present to the environment when I go for a walk. Could be turning off all distractions and engaging deeply in a conversation with somebody. These activities that bring me back into the present seem to stimulate this mood, in which I would call it ideal or flow-based, or one in harmony. And the key is mood. So you feel it. You can feel it. It's a sense of oneness, sensation of peace, ease, and even starts to stimulate perhaps more of a light-hearted approach to your behaviors. You seem to, in that moment, express, and conversation tends to flow. Words just flow out. And a lot of times you're not thinking about what you're saying, but what you're expressing is ideal. It's resonating with the other person. We want to become extra present and sensitive to these moods. Because as we start to practice being more aware of when we're in these moods and what stimulate us into these moods, some suggestions here, what we'll notice is that we will encourage it, and we'll notice when we're in it and we're out of these moods. And as mentioned earlier, these moods help bring forth ideal, creative expression, inspiration, known factors, and the unknown factors, all found within Kingdom of Heaven state within. Conversation does it with me as well. When I have conversations with clients, conversations with people wherever I am, at the airport, at the cafe, whenever I engage in conversation with people, for me, I find myself going right into the present now and deeply engage and experiencing a mood where I start to notice these kinds of effects that I'm talking about here, which I related over to what he says. He says, When a man realizes that his mind is part of universal mind, when he realizes that he has only to take any right aspiration to this universal mind to see it realized, he loses all sense of worry and fear. He rises to meet every situation secure in the knowledge that everything necessary to the solution of any problem is in mind, and that he has but to take his problem to universal mind to have it correctly answered. So what we're talking about is letting go automatically of unnecessary persona. Now, when we can feel this in the moment when we're putting on a persona, when we're not being who we really are, this is an important indicator to allow us to reflect upon whether we are in the mood or not. Chances are, I find this with myself as well, if for whatever the reason may be, I seem to be putting on a persona either based on shame or any kind of thought process, where I'm trying to be someone, the key word is trying, then I'm not in that mood that I want to be in ideally. And I recognize that, and I say, what are the things? So again, here are the things that I work with. Got meditation, 20-minute meditation does it for me. Music, information, being deeply immersed in the task at hand, conversations. And I'm talking lighthearted conversations or inspirational conversations. Conversations where you feel perhaps maybe 1 or 2 minutes into the conversation, the persona is gone. That's when you're connected to what he refers to, the universal mind, in which he says, "For if you take a drop of water from the ocean, you know that it has the same properties as all the rest of the water in the ocean, the same percentage of sodium chloride. The only difference between it and the ocean is in the volume. If you take a spark of electricity, you know that it has the same properties as the thunderbolt, the same power that moves trains or runs giant machines in factories. Again, the only difference is in volume. It is the same with your mind and the universal mind. The only difference between them is in volume. Your mind has the same properties as the universal mind and the same creative genius, the same power over all the earth, the same access to the knowledge, all knowledge. Know this, believe it, use it, and yours is the earth and the fullness thereof. In the exact proportion that you believe yourself to be part of the universal mind, sharing in its all power, in that proportion can you demonstrate the mastery over your own body and over the world about you." So it's important to remind ourselves that this is microcosm of the macrocosm. Now, we discuss this deeper when we get into the work of the Kabbalion, the all that exists in all, and that we are also one with the all, and that the all is within us. We are in the all, and the all is within us. Now, this level of understanding is recognized more so through maintaining the mood or recognizing the performance or the expression of creativity while in the mood. And it becomes a way of being, which allows us to release from certain kinds of thinking, which create unnecessary attachment to a persona that is not really who we are. And what we really want to identify when we're working with this information in regards to what he says here, which we'll go back to it. He says, "The kingdom of heaven is within you." These are higher thoughts, more true and accurate thoughts. And as you notice, you find yourself being more at ease with the tasks at hand, the projects, the people, the environments, the circumstances. You feel more one with. This reality seems more lucid, fluid, which is reflecting the fluidity of mind, which is also what we're discussing, which is allowing us to release from certain kinds of thinking that seem to create unnecessary rigidity of attachment. And there could be times where it seems really challenging. However, as we continue to encourage the mood, that mood becomes more of a default way of being, and it's a more lighthearted mood. And you get better at this with practice. This has been the journey that I've been on. I've noticed that I've gotten better at it as I continue to work with this information more consciously. And then from there, you can switch a different state of mind And you can see real time as that experience changes right in front of you. In order to have that real time change happen more so, we want to remember that, as he says here, more than half the prophecies in the scripture refers to the time when man shall possess the earth, when tears and sorrow shall be unknown, and peace and plenty shall be everywhere. That time will come. It is nearer than most people think possible. You are helping it along. Every man who is honestly trying to use the power of mind in the right way is doing his part in the great cause. For it is only through mind that peace and plenty can be gained. The earth is laden with treasures as yet undiscovered, but they are every one of them known to universal mind, for it was universal mind that first imaged them from there. And as part of the universal mind, they can be known to you. Contained within what experienced as the individual mind within us is access to the wisdom and understanding that created everything. Now, as mentioned, this is something that we realize more so every day, which is why I recommend a creative expression, such as the entrepreneurial journey or an artistic expression. Because it's through the practice of doing this, what we will find is that we will automatically express and bring forth a contribution, be it a creative expression or an innovation or something like that, which further contributes. If you look around, we see that more so today than ever before. We see innovation. We see artistic expression. When a person experiences that innovation, be it a technology or be it some kind of artistic expression, perhaps some theater, music, and so forth, they automatically go into the mood in which that artistic expression was generated from. So when I look back at my journey, I noticed that the music played a big role, and that what I was really doing as the DJ was adding to the music based on my mood, and the crowd, you can say, was adding to it as well. So we're all playing a role to add to it. I actually recommend watching. I've been reading Somebody to Love, the biography of Freddie Mercury. I actually recommend watching, because I've started watching it regularly now. Queen's 1985 performance at Live Aid. To observe how much a person allows this expression to happen. We all have the ability to do it. Some practice it more so. Some allow it and make it a priority to express more so. As we continue to do this, we'll notice that it becomes more of a way of life. So again, we can stimulate this mood. We can align ourselves with this mood that's ideal and one with the vision that ties us into this heaven on earth state. Via meditation, music, information, the project or task at hand, which is very important for me, because what I found all throughout my journey was where there were times where I felt disconnected, lost, stressed, and frustrated. I found it very easy for me to just say, what is the one thing that I need to do next, whatever it is, and just get really present to doing that thing. And then what I found was things started to change. Got back into the mood, started to get hunches and inspirations, and I started to build a momentum, which is also very important, building the momentum in doing this. So upon reflection of this video, let's go back to the beginning here when he says, to enjoy the heaven that is within us, to begin here and now to live the life eternal, takes only a fuller understanding of the power that is within us. And we can only not allow this expression to happen within us based on our thinking, perhaps a false persona that is not true and ideal to who you really are. Now, in order to resolve this, we make this mood a priority, the sensation where we feel the creativity. And as mentioned, these are the things that we could do. You find your own as well, that stimulate that mood and make it a priority. Because as you do it, what you'll notice is that whatever it is you do, your creative expression, music, art, entrepreneurship, whatever it is, you'll notice that you'll be able to do it a lot more with ease, a lot more with flow. It will feel more effortless. It will express through you. And this is one of the key elements that I've been pulling from all this information. The effortlessness of allowing from within the expression to flow through getting into that mood and maintaining it. And then as we observe through cause and effect reflection of how the mood contributed to those changes, we further encourage it and repeat the process again and again and again. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's go ahead and conclude this with an affirmation. We can say, I recognize that the kingdom of heaven is within me. I recognize that I have access to this state right now. I realize that it is expressed through my five senses via what I think, what I imagine, how I feel. I recognize that the ideal thoughts, behaviors, emotions, and ways that are known and unknown, that are one with the vision, are brought forth from a mood in which I feel one with, at peace and ease and flow and love and harmony. Thus, I do the things, I encourage the things in behaviors and in thoughts that stimulate this mood as I allow the expressions to flow through me to bring forth my vision from a place of love, harmony, and flow. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.